So let's look at another question in 7.5. This one I think involves standard deviation. So again, we're still going to be using tables and to find the critical values, and we're still going to be using this formula to finding the test statistic. And of course, we're going to be using this to help us kind of create our conclusion, our interpretation. So this is question 12 in your homework. So we have a hospital spokesperson claims that the standard deviation of the waiting times experienced by patients in its minor emergency department is no more than 0.4 minutes. A random sample of 30 waiting times has a standard deviation of 0.6 minutes. At a level of significance of 5%, is there enough evidence to reject the spokesperson's claim? Assume the population is normally distributed. Completes parts A through E below. So first off, we want to write the claim and identify mathematically what H sub 0 and H sub A are. So the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. So a spokesperson claims that the standard deviation of waiting times, so standard deviation is sigma, is no more than, which is less than or equal to 0.4 minutes. So when we do H sub 0 and H sub A, this looks like the claim is going to be the null hypothesis. So the standard deviation is going to be less than 0.4. So that means that our alternative hypothesis is going to be the standard deviation is greater than 0.4. So this is where our claim is. So in identifying our critical values, one of the things we pick up on is on this chi-square distribution, this is greater than, this is right-tailed. So our rejection region is going to be to the right of this chi-squared r. So using our table, we need alpha, which is 0.05, and the degrees of freedom, since the sample is 30, our degrees of freedom was 29. So using our table, chi-squared r is the right side. So we need a 0.05 and 29. And I'm not sure how to round this one. So pay attention to rounding in your homework. I believe this one goes 3 decimal places, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go 42.557 this time. So the critical value, so chi-squared 0, if you will, chi-squared 0 is going to be 42.557. So if we're right of 42.557, that's going to be the rejection region. So to do the standardized test statistic, chi-squared, we have to know the degrees of freedom. We have to know the sample variance divided by the population variance. So the degrees of freedom was 29. Notice they didn't give us the sample variance. What they gave us was the sample standard deviation. So when they did the sample standard deviation, they said 0.6. Remember, S stands for the sample variance. So to get the variance, all we have to do is square that 0.6. And then we divide it by the population variance, but they didn't give us the population variance. What they gave us was the population standard deviation. But if we square this 0.4, that'll actually give us our population variance. So if we do that math there, that'll give us our test statistic. So if we go 29 times 0.6 squared, and then divide that by 0.4 squared, they give us our test statistic. So we're getting 65.25. So is that to the right of 42.557? So yeah, 65.25 is going to be to the right. So it's out here somewhere. So it does end up being in our rejection region. So decide whether to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. We are going to be rejecting h to 0. So is there enough evidence to reject the spokesperson's claim at a 5% level of significance? Well, since the spokesperson's claim was the null hypothesis, then I would say yes. So there is, so I'd be saying, yes, there is enough evidence to reject the spokesperson's claim at a level of 5%, because we are rejecting the null hypothesis, which is the claim.